The world number one has just suffered a humiliation he hasn't experienced in nearly 4 years. Scottie Scheffler, the man who had made 78 consecutive cuts, the longest streak since Tiger Woods, missed the cut at the Genesis Scottish Open while his greatest rival, Rory McIlroy, soared into a share of the lead. The golf world was stunned. But what Scheffler said afterward has revealed something far deeper than a bad round. He's not just talking about his game. He's talking about Rory McIlroy, the man who has been winning everything and the PGA Tour's future that has been turned upside down. Scottie Scheffler arrived at the Genesis Scottish Open as the defending champion, the world number one, and a man who had just come agonizingly close to winning the Masters. He left on Friday afternoon, his tail between his legs, having missed the cut for the first time since the 2022 FedEx St. Jude Championship. A streak of 78 consecutive cuts, the longest on the PGA Tour since Tiger Woods' record 142, had come to an abrupt and shocking end. His performance was uncharacteristically poor. After a disappointing opening round, Scheffler followed it with a 72, struggling from the start and never finding his rhythm. Got off to a poor start, and after that, I didn't really get it close enough to give myself a bunch of looks, Scheffler said. That's how you shoot over par. The irony was brutal. While Scheffler was packing his bags early, Rory McIlroy was lighting up the leaderboard. McIlroy posted a 4 under 66 to share the lead with Jordan Smith and the resurgent Tom Kim at 9 under. It was the kind of performance that reminded everyone why McIlroy is one of the best in the world and why Scheffler's miscut was so jarring. For a man who has been the picture of consistency, this was a devastating blow. And it came at the worst possible time, just days before he was supposed to defend his Open Championship title at Royal Birkdale. The missed cut at the Scottish Open wasn't just a bad week. It was a stark reminder of the rivalry that has come to define modern golf. Scheffler and McIlroy have shared 5 of the last 9 major championships between them, underlining this rivalry as one of sport's biggest battles. But the contrast at the Renaissance Club was impossible to ignore. McIlroy, who won the Scottish Open 3 years ago, looked comfortable and confident. He found a new wedge to help him with the firm turf and was in good position heading into the weekend. Scheffler, meanwhile, was making plans to head south earlier than he imagined, his title defense at Royal Birkdale now clouded by uncertainty. But the rivalry between these two men has never been about animosity. Scheffler has been a huge admirer of McIlroy, and the feeling is very much mutual. Speaking ahead of the Cadillac Championship, Scheffler was asked to share his thoughts on McIlroy's game. His answer was remarkably generous. I think when you look at just his game specifically, I think his ability to drive the ball I think it's the best that I've seen, Scheffler said. Not only with his speed, but how accurate he is as well. He's able to take out certain things on some golf courses that not many players can do. He does it in a way where he hits a lot of fairways as well. Scheffler also praised McIlroy's longevity. I think it's hard to have an understanding of what it takes to remain at the top for as long as he has when you don't see it each week. He's a guy I always see in the gym, the practice facility. If we're playing the same tournament, we see each other a lot because we're all doing the same things in order to get ready. For a man who had just missed the cut, Scheffler's words were a masterclass in class. But they also revealed something deeper. He knows exactly what he's up against. While the rivalry on the course has captivated fans, a different kind of battle has been raging behind the scenes. Rory McIlroy, once the frontline defender of the PGA Tour during the LIV golf crisis, has now made a stunning admission that has the golf world talking. You start to realize that the way the tour was before LIV came along was actually pretty good, McIlroy said. Now that LIV looks like it's less of a threat, I think the old ways of the PGA Tour weren't actually that bad. The comment was a bombshell. McIlroy had been the most vocal critic of LIV golf, calling it a false economy and warning about the dangers of Saudi money. But now that LIV is flailing, with Saudi Arabia's public investment fund pulling its funding at the end of the 2026 season, McIlroy is questioning whether the tour's response to the threat was the right move. His concern is about the future of historic events like the Canadian Open, a tournament he has won twice. Under the tour's new model, such events could be relegated to Track 2 status, essentially becoming glorified Corn Ferry events. Track 2 is a glorified Corn Ferry event, McIlroy said. That's what Track 2 is going to be. So I don't think the Canadian Open should be one of those. The man who once stood as the PGA Tour's fiercest defender is now its most vocal critic, and his words have sent shockwaves through the sport. While McIlroy has been outspoken about the tour's future, Scheffler has remained conspicuously quiet. His focus, as always, has been internal. I would not say that the rivalry, drives me. I think when I look over the course of my life, my sources of motivation have always been internal, Scheffler said. I also love competition. I don't like losing. But at the end of the day, I think the preparation, getting ready to come out here and play is something that I really enjoy. I'm not thinking about something that somebody else is really good at. I don't really look for a lot of sources of outside motivation. But the miscut at the Scottish Open has forced Scheffler to confront a new reality. He hasn't won since January. He has 4 runner-up finishes. And now, his streak is over. The man who was once the picture of consistency is suddenly facing questions he hasn't had to answer in years. What happens when a man who is driven by internal motivation suddenly faces external doubts? The answer could define the rest of his season. Both men now head to Royal Birkdale for the Open Championship. Scheffler is the defending champion, but his miscut at the Scottish Open has raised serious doubts about his form. McIlroy is the man in form, sharing the lead heading into the weekend at the Scottish Open and looking every bit the champion he is. But McIlroy's confidence is tempered by his concerns about the tour's future. He recognizes that LIV's injection of billions into the sport created a false economy that forced the tour to respond. Though it has made the rich richer with the creation of signature events with $20 million purses, McIlroy isn't so sure that, or whatever comes next, is better than what came before it. The Open Championship is not just about golf. It's about the future of the sport, and the two men at the center of it all have very different perspectives. Scottie Scheffler has broken his silence after the most shocking missed cut of his career. He's not just talking about his game, he's talking about Rory McIlroy, the man who has been winning everything, and the PGA Tour's future that has been turned upside down. Scheffler's words reveal a man who respects his rival, but is driven by internal motivation. McIlroy's words reveal a man who is questioning everything he once believed. The questions now are impossible to ignore. Can Scheffler bounce back at Royal Birkdale and defend his Open title? Will McIlroy's concerns about the tour's future distract him from his pursuit of a 7th major? And what does the rivalry between these two men say about the state of professional golf? One thing is certain. The stage is set for a showdown at Royal Birkdale, and the golf world will be watching every shot.